So I will call this meeting to order. Do we have any public comment? If so, if you can limit yourself to no more than 3 minutes. And are you a man with no introduction needed, D, or what?
No, I'll introduce. How y'all doing? I'm D. Jones. I actually got forced out of the house that I stayed in. The landlord that I had, I got a big hole in my room. He wasn't trying to fix that up, so I asked to stay at 10, 1D.
All right, thank you, D. Appreciate that. Is there anyone else that would like to address the committee? All right, seeing no one, I would like to have last meeting's minutes approved. Do I have a motion? Motion by DeBoer, supported by Womack. All right, any commissioners' comments, questions, changes? If not, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, last meeting's minutes have been approved. All right, next item on our agenda is special order of business. The first item is the Department of Public Works Annual Report. Dar. Again, commissioners, I'm trying to keep presentations to 10 minutes, so I'll have your questions because I figured there's a little bit more time for commissioner questions that are probably just as important for each one of us, so thank you.
Seeing primarily on performance metrics, on accomplishments and key collaborations. One of the things that we continue to focus on is improving the recycling and diversion rate for Kent County. We're making small progress, slow progress. We've got a lot of programs in place, so we'll be talking more about that. We're always looking for public-private collaborative efforts with private sector to be able to move our diversion along. And we're focused highly on making sure we're in compliance with managing PFAS at all of our facilities. For those that are less familiar with us, we have a number of programs and facilities in the county. Those that are a little less familiar are probably Safe Chem, our electronics recycling, our recycling drop-offs, a lot of the efforts that we've deployed over the last 30-plus years. The main facilities that we operate in Kent County are still primarily based along the US 131 corridor. We have our North Kent Transfer Station, we have our Recycling and Education Center. Right next to that is our administrative offices, our waste energy facility, and then our South Kent landfill. When we think about key collaborations, our department works with a very divergent group of collaborators. I think about our ability to manage contraband and evidence for law enforcement. We think about the U.S. Marshals, DEA, Homeland Security, Michigan State Police, Border Patrol, Kent County Sheriff's Department, and many other law enforcement agencies that use both the facility we have available for training, along with the ability to have witness destruction. But along with that, we work with Meyer and the Michigan Beverage Association and others. We did a deep dive into the bottle deposit law this past year. There'll be a comprehensive report coming out to better understand what's working, what's not working, and how our department and the county can be working along with legislators and others to improve the performance of that law. Another interesting and neat collaboration is a lot of communities will have community pride or cleanup days where they'll sponsor something at their township or at their city where residents can drop things off and dispose of them. We did something a little different with the Village of Sparta this year. They reached out to us, and while they're paying for it, instead of residents bringing the material to the village on a given day, whether it's a Saturday or a Friday, to drop off scrap metal and old couches and mattresses and other things that they need to dispose of, we came up with a voucher program. So it's less intensive. The residents at their leisure over the course of a couple of weeks can actually visit our North Kent Transfer Station, use this voucher that we provided to Sparta Village. Then that voucher is tallied up, and then we'll bill back to the village for that service. But it's a way that the village can still work with its residents to make sure that they're keeping the village looking great. At the same time, it's a little less intensive, and they're not tying up their parking lot and have all the residents having to kind of show up on a Saturday morning. Significant accomplishments. We made an investment with a private company called Advanced Recycling Technologies to improve our metals recovery at the waste energy facility. We've more than doubled the ability to remove ferrous metal from the ash, and for the first time we are now removing non-ferrous metals. So for every ton or every 2,000 pounds of ash that comes out on the back end of the combustion process, we're removing 420 pounds of ferrous metal and another 40 pounds of non-ferrous metal that's going back into the economy through brokering and bringing those scrap metals for reuse. Another significant accomplishment, this is fairly recent, and we're still going through our environmental due diligence, but we acquired a 5-acre parcel adjacent to the waste energy facility that provides us options for the future on how we might repurpose and rethink about how waste energy continues to serve the city of Grand Rapids and the surrounding communities here in Kent County. Another significant accomplishment is after building our new transfer station at the North Kent transfer facility up in Rockford, we repurposed our old transfer facility, and it's entirely dedicated now for recycling. We have as many as 1,200 residents per day stopping at that facility in the north area of Kent County to drop off the recycling. We also provide commercial haulers the ability to tip there as well, so they're not having to come into Grand Rapids to our facility to process that material. It keeps 6 to 7 trucks equivalent from having to come into the Grand Rapids area to drop off at our MRF, and that's been really well received. We also added polystyrene recycling. We have the equivalent of 15 truckloads, semi-truck trailers of polystyrene that we've been able to capture just starting this summer. We also put a baler up there for corrugated cardboard, and we've moved over 7 semi-trailer loads of baled cardboard out of the North Kent facility instead of having to transfer that down to our MRF here at the Recycling and Education Center. Other things that we've done is we've more than doubled the diversion of material at the North Kent Transfer Station. Almost 3,700 tons of material was removed from waste, including scrap metal, corrugated vinyl siding, shingles, and other material that's listed there. When we opened our new transfer station, we also adopted new technologies. We now have an automated kiosk that allows packer trucks, that's the style of truck that you would see picking up your cart at the curb, to be able to come in. They can key in, they have the tare weights built in, so they can auto and self-serve at that kiosk instead of having to work with the scale house attendant. That allows them to move through the scale quicker, and it allows the attendant to work with those that have the more complicated loads that may have mattresses or other things in there that takes a few more minutes to go through. Other accomplishments, we replaced the cooling tower that's on the right side at the waste energy facility this past year. It's really, you're flying, the jet and replacing the wheels while you're going down the runway type of activity. And then on the left side there, you'll see that we replaced one of the two scrubbers this year. We'll replace the second one next year as we continue to retrofit and ensure that that facility can operate to 2039 and beyond. Other key performance metrics, we had 100% availability at our recycling facility to take in recyclables from commercial haulers. We used almost $550,000 in grant dollars to invest in more recycling equipment. We've had over 100% increase in the amount of material we diverted at North Kent. 100% of the safety training occurred at Waste Energy to ensure that we're operating safely at that facility. We had over 9,300 participants using our SafeChem program, over 1,000 visitors at our swap shop, nearly 400,000 hits on our website, and 69 law enforcement agencies were able to use our facilities and operations. But we can do better. We're still struggling to move the needle on recycling. Unfortunately, 75% roughly of the recyclables that are available in Kent County are still not making it into the right container. So because it's not in the right container, it's not going in the right truck, that's not being delivered to the right facility to be processed. Instead of going to recycling, it's going to either landfill or waste to energy. Our South Kent landfill, we just completed a survey there. We have roughly 5 years left, and that's assuming about 300,000 tons of inbound material per year. A really neat program that we're going to be introducing here in just the next few weeks is food waste collection. Organics is a huge focus for us and for the community. So our Board of Public Works approved placement of 3 facilities, 3 receptacles at the North Kent Transfer Station, at the library on Comstock, and at our Recycling Education Center as a pilot. We think it's going to really work well. It's based a bit on the East Grand Rapids model, and once we get our feet underneath us and we understand how these are used and what challenges or changes that we have to make the process as user-friendly as possible, we're working with the library districts right now to have a conversation if we can't deploy these throughout the library system in Kent County. PFAS treatment is still a significant focus for us. We are in the process of designing those treatment facilities for North Kent, for Kentwood, for the South Kent landfill. We have a facility already installed at the Waste Energy facility. And if I've got one more minute, thank you. We're also in the middle of our materials management planning process. We're in year 1 of 3, so we'll be moving into year 2. Commissioner Coleman serves on that committee, so thank you for your time. We've done the gap we'll be doing a gap analysis. We're also in the process of preparing to make recommendations and start drafting the plan, which will start in year 2. We're also working on flow control and the implementation. What you'll find is at the recycling center, we're going to reduce our fees from $70 a ton to $60 to incentivize recycling. Our waste energy facility tip fee goes from $74 down to $60 to make it more equitable for the Metro 6. And we'll be bumping up our South Kent and North Kent fees from about 52 to 60 to help balance it out throughout the county. And then looking ahead, thank you to several here and the county administration. We're doing a strategic review and strategic plan. We're nearly ready with the Sustainable Business Park design so that we can go out to bid to help inform the Board of Public Works on what that might cost. We're going to implement more customer satisfaction surveys. Starting in January, you'll see a change in Board of Public Works governance, which will include 2 municipal representatives, a road commissioner, and 1 county commissioner will be stepping down in that role with that change in governance. And we'll be working on our South Kent transfer station design. And I'll land the plane there. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Dar. I appreciate that. I think we have just about everybody on this board, maybe except Commissioner Womack, who's been involved somewhere with DPW. Yet Commissioner Womack's been around and understands the process as well. So thank you to the commissioners here that serve on the DPW board with me. Commissioner Ponstein was a former member as well. Commissioner Coleman, again, is on that MMP, the Michigan Materials Management Planning Committee. So we appreciate that. So we do have some knowledgeable people on here. Commissioner Faber previously was a consultant employed over there as well. So again, I think our knowledge on this committee is quite deep. So again, appreciate it. Commissioners, comments, questions? Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dar, good to see you. Good to see your team here as well.
Good morning. Thank you.
2 questions for you. First, I was looking forward with this change to the tip fees, wondering what the conversations have been with the haulers so far on that.
Yes.
We recognize that it is unlikely that consumers are to see a decrease in their bill, but wondering how the haulers are taking that and whether they're considering them, sort of baking in those savings to stave off increases in tip fees or, bills to the consumers. Just what have those conversations been like with the haulers?
Yeah, so we've held, we sent informational packets out in the spring. We've since then held 2 meetings with the haulers, one in September, and I think we just completed one about a week ago. Implementation and preparation's going really well. There's been some great suggestions around making sure that we have the hours available for them to bring material in. So we're actually going to be opening 2 of our facilities an hour earlier. That'd be North Kent and South Kent to help accommodate those early commercial routes. There hasn't been a lot of conversation about how the tip fees might affect the reduction, but I would suggest that by reducing the recycling rate by $10 and waste energy by 14, it certainly gives room for the haulers to make those adjustments down should they choose to. That said, if they don't reduce it, there's certainly an opportunity to keep the pricing steady for a while. Obviously, tip fee is not the only cost factor that rolls up into providing service on the street, but overall, the conversations have been good. There's been a lot of collaboration and good conversation, and the industry primarily is ready to roll. What we've suggested is that for the month of January, let's get through the holidays, that they'll make their route adjustments as needed, and then we'll look at kind of ramping up and looking a little closer at how things are going starting in February. But everyone seems to be on board, and our last meeting was 30 minutes. It didn't actually even take the hour and a half, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
The other question I had was on the partnership that we have with Vicinity Energy. We are fortunate in the region that Vicinity both operates our waste to energy facility and operates the downtown heating district in the city of Grand Rapids. We had a vignette with City of Grand Rapids, Kent County and Vicinity in April, I think it was. Had some big, bold ideas on how we sort of take that partnership and take the location of those facilities and turn them into beneficial, not just for the city, but also for the region at large. So can you talk a little bit about sort of that partnership with Vicinity and how that's supportive of our broader goals on sustainability and reduction of landfilling and those bigger pieces?
Yeah, we've had a great conversation with Vicinity and actually WM, or Waste Management as they're known today, around that Market Street Utility Corridor, as we're kind of coining the phrase, thinking about all the development occurring in the city of Grand Rapids in that area. Recently, Vicinity Energy celebrated the installation of an electric boiler. City of Grand Rapids has announced the fact that they'll be putting a solar array on the Butterworth landfill. A couple other things that are in play is that Vicinity is really interested in exporting steam back downtown to use the steam from waste to energy instead of firing natural gas to provide steam downtown. We just have to take a close look at the cost of replacing the steam line and working with the city, with Vicinity, with the state of Michigan, and the county to make that a reality, because we know that it can be. Because we can go back to cogen, where we're generating electricity and exporting steam. We're building additional efficiencies into waste to energy to reduce what's called the parasitic load, so we can move more electricity to the grid and or move more steam downtown. The partnership with Vicinity Energy is fantastic because they're looking at that 5 acres. In fact, the whole conversation around the acquisition of that started when we were building out and needed lay-down space for our cooling tower. We rented some space next door, and it turned into a conversation of, hey, are you interested in buying this? Vicinity Energy, because they look at the long-term infrastructure needs of their clients and how they manage the assets, they're also interested in anaerobic digestion and some of those partnerships. This past summer, I don't know if you've seen any of the drone footage of how low the Grand River is. We draw millions of gallons of water from the river to supply our cooling tower needs for the waste energy facility, but we can't do that right now because the water's so low and we're pulling mud. So we're having to rely on municipal water, which is okay, but it's expensive. So there's even conversation about taking post-treated wastewater from the wastewater treatment plant from the city of Grand Rapids and moving that back to waste to energy. So there's a lot of things in discussion and conversation that can occur. We just need to all get on the same page for the long term and make those decisions. And I think that strategic review and strategic planning process that we're going through will give us an opportunity to kind of line those things out and determine what are the priorities and how can we benefit the county overall, including the city, and how can we reduce our dependence on natural gas and some of those other things and reduce our cost. You're welcome.
Commissioner Womack.
Thank you for your presentation. And I'm glad you talked about the steam importations, exportations of steam to different cities and municipalities, and you talked a little bit about the renewable energy, because that was going to be one of my questions, because it helps us as we move towards zero emissions. But also, I want just 2 more questions, but you really covered that great, so I'm thankful for that. When it comes to any asphalt recycling, there's some states that are with the Department of Works where they're able to help recycle for asphalt and a kind that even expands, that stops, that help from rubbers and tires, that help stop some of the potholes we've seen be a major problem in Michigan. Are there any partnerships with people that are involved in that area?
The partnership on pavement and where tires and those types of materials could be additive to make the material last longer. The Road Commission is actually doing some of that work. We're not as directly involved in it since we don't manage streets, and but we know that the Road Commission has been working and doing some piloting. We do provide and have been recycling asphalt shingles, and it goes to a facility in Muskegon so they can use it for a product. But we're not directly involved in the road piece so much. But I know the Road Commission was working on a pilot last year in that space.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Also, you said one of the biggest challenges is when it comes to the public recycling. It seems that the commercial industry use is doing a lot better. How is it marketed, especially the new generations coming out, that everybody is a consumer and a producer of waste, every living human being? And how are you marketing to get this new generation, and even some of us baby boomers, definitely tapped in to recycling and saving our world?
Yeah, so I'm a year shy of being a baby boomer, but I think I act more like a baby boomer than I do a Gen Xer, 66 baby. But there's two parts of the conversation. First of all, how are we reaching the new generation? We're
Yes.
using social media platforms, Facebook, our website, phone calls. Katie, probably 15 to 20 calls a day. More, okay, she's working harder than I thought, of residents calling in because they have a variety of questions and needs for disposal. It's one of not only knowledge, but it's one of access.
Yes.
One of the challenges that our Materials Management Planning Committee is having to wrestle with is how do you create more access in Kent County for recycling? One of our most significant challenges is that most multifamily residents, and I think of like an apartment complex, maybe anything larger than maybe a fourplex, if your trash is going into a dumpster as opposed to a cart, I'm 99% certain that you do not have recycling available to you unless you drop off at a North Kent transfer station or you drop off at a recycling and education center here in Grand Rapids. Because the commercial routes and how those are serviced and the availability and the ability to work with property managers and to get those recycling carts or recycling containers available to multifamily is a huge challenge, and it has been for years, decades. The other piece is when you subscribe as a single-family residence to recycling, other than if you're in the city of Grand Rapids, which has a program for recycling, you can make the decision not to subscribe for recycling, and thereby it all goes into one cart, which ends up going to landfill or waste to energy. So access is a huge issue. Education's always a challenge, right? We're always working on it. We have a team of 3, that's all they do, marketing, communication, education. Commissioner Faber led that effort for several years, and we continue to do that. So we think we have the education tools. Now it's a matter of making sure we have access for residents that otherwise don't have it.
Well, thank you very, very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Burrow. So, tagging on to Commissioner Womack, on the recycling day, and our biggest one in Granville is Aero Waste. When their trucks come on their day, I would say less than 50% have a recycling cart. The rest is just going into trash. So, I don't know what the solution is. I mean, are there others that also, recycle, like, Padnos is near my district. They recycle metal. There's lines in there all the time. Same thing with concrete. There's an aggregate place on Broadmoor that will take it into. I mean, is the goal for Kent County to ensure that goal, or are there other partners that can step up and throw an assist in?
So there are partners, and I would say that all the things that you mentioned, the metals, the concrete, and those types of materials are really the low-hanging fruit, and there's solutions today. Where there's the challenge is that if it's going into a trash cart, as soon as it's placed in that cart, you've just complicated the situation because you have to sort it back out. And there is no other company in Kent County that processes single-stream recycling when you're corrugated and your plastic bottles and all that material that you're familiar with is mixed. And I know I went through the slides quickly, but the number of commercial loads of material being dropped at our landfill at the North Kent Transfer Station and Recycling Center, as an example, that are maybe 70% corrugated cardboard, but has just enough contamination that it can't go to a Padnos, is the challenge. The amount of recyclable material that come in every day that just hits the wrong floor, it's in the wrong truck, or has just enough contamination that Padnos or a Grand Rapids Iron and Metal or someone else can't process it is really the challenge. So getting it into the right container or making sure we have the ability to process is really the two solutions that we're looking at. We're not interested, nor do we want to be in the space that if it's source separated, then bring it to Padnos or bring it to whoever. But if it's something that's in your trash and we have 1 million tons being generated a year in here in Kent County, that's what we continue to be hyper-focused on. So 2 quick solutions, 2 ideas. One is, would you have single rate, meaning if you purchase a subscription for a cart for trash, does it come with a cart for recycling? And it doesn't matter, if you use it, you use it, if you don't, you don't, but you're gonna pay for it. So now you've got more access. That's one question out there. The second would be, and I just dropped it, should individual municipalities, and I'll use Kentwood as an example because the mayor of Kentwood, Steve Kepley, and I have talked about this a few times. Should the city of Kentwood bid out its trash service because it's really a utility, and in that bid, spec out what the services should be provided for that in their city? And if it's like, if it should be yard waste and it should be recycling, and it should be trash service, then it's bid that way. Because the other challenge that you have is the route density. So if a hauler is operating in a city and they only have 30% of the market, so they're stopping at every third house to pick up trash, it's more expensive. And then if you only have 25% of that 30% picking up recycling, then they're stopping at every 6th or 8th house for recycling, and it drives up the cost again. Instead of having one hauler operate in an area that's doing everything, you reduce your prices, you usually cut them in half. So whether or not the municipalities would be open to that, I think is an ongoing conversation that we're gonna have to tackle at the Materials Management Planning Committee level. But, so there are some solutions, but there's levers that you have to pull to make it happen.
Thank you. So just a couple quick other things. Thank you for constantly working on the bottle bill. I think the biggest problem with that no one wants to change is that the state of Michigan's got their handout of the ones that aren't returned properly. They receive that money. And that's wrong, and that's got to change. But it seems like the state just can't stop not finding new ways to generate and tax money. So that's just my pulpit. So the last thing, the 5-year deadline, that thing's going to close. Are you worried about that?
No.
Okay.
So we have short-term, mid-term, and long-term plans. Short-term plan is we'll continue to operate South Kent landfill. Mid-term plan is we're planning for a South Kent transfer station. Long-term plans go in 2 directions. One is there's capacity for landfill disposal outside of Kent County, and that's been identified, and we're working with both Republic and WM who operate those facilities to make sure that there is enough capacity. And then the second leg of that is to make sure that we're continuing to explore mixed waste processing and other like technologies to reduce what we're actually having to send out of the county. So we're not worried about it. There is a plan. However, in 2030, if the Board of Public Works is going to make a decision in the county as a whole that we need more landfill capacity, that decision would have to be made this year to go into design permit construction of a new landfill.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioner comment? Commissioner Faber.
Thanks for being here. Well, I'll start by saying thank you for all of this. You won't find another county in Michigan that's doing what we're doing, and it's really pretty incredible. So kudos to you and the team to have the facilities that we have to continue to invest in diversion. It really, it's one of those unsung heroes, I think, of our community. So thank you. Go a million different directions, but what I'd like to focus on, I guess, is I saw that as part of the MMP project or planning process, we conducted a recent poll on recycling. I know we did that a couple years ago. Do you have any quick top lines that you can share out of that? How our community is kind of feeling about recycling and how that might inform what we're doing with the plan?
Yeah, there's no question there's support for recycling, and we'll share the full EPIC MRA study. We provided just a quick overview to the Board of Public Works. we dove a little deeper with the committee, but we'll send that out later today. There's certainly a lot of support for diversion and recycling. There's a recognition that multifamily is truly an issue. What was interesting is we had a small number of multifamily responses, it just the way it landed. And a lot of the respondents actually are in single family, but they see multifamily as a challenge. But then the question is, how do you implement it? How do you pay for it? And they're saying the residents should pay for it, the landlord should pay for it, which really is the same thing, or maybe the state should pay for it, or the government should pay for it. So so I think that the two takeaways for me is there's a significant recognition that just diversion is still a top priority. One is to reduce reliance on landfill, and two is just doing the right environmental thing. There's a lot of support for multifamily, and then we can drill down from there. But I would say those are the quick highlights. But certainly it was much broader than that. But we'll share that later today.
Great, thanks. Thank you for continuing to work on the bottle bill. $130 million worth of unclaimed deposits go into our landfill or incineration. I know it's enshrined in the state constitution, so it's a stubborn bill to change, but I applaud the effort to continue to work on that, and continue to work on sort of our hard-to-recycle materials. When we think about single-stream recycling, that's really packaging, I would say. It's our boxes and our cardboard containers and our, trash containers and all those sorts of things. But then we have this whole other area of recycling that's really the hard-to-get-rid-of stuff. I think the Sustainable Business Forum waste audit said Michigan threw away 30 million single-use vape pens last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just astounding to me. So can you speak a little bit to what we're doing on those hard-to-recycle kind of special collection items that don't go in your recycling bin? They shouldn't go in your trash, but what do we kind of do with some of these? And is there any progress on kind of producer responsibility, the real cost of some of these things to our environment, landing back on the people that are producing them?
Yeah, so let me quick touch the bottle bill. I've been working on that since the Snyder administration, so I'm getting old in that space. But that said, is we recognize that until we fully land the plane on how the system works and where the money goes and how it flows through the system, including the Michigan Department of Treasury, that we can't really make great recommendations to our legislators because we just don't know what we don't know. This study will help really paint a much broader picture so we'll understand it for the first time. The hard-to-recycle materials, we have an example from Friday. There was a laptop battery that has Chasing Arrow symbol on it, but it has a cross check on putting it in your trash. Got into a cart, made it to our recycling center, and started another fire. Fortunately, we were able to capture it quickly. The team did a fantastic job. Those are the types of hard-to-recycle materials. Katie, who, again, she sits just outside my office, so I have sometimes the frustration of, but also the pleasure of hearing the questions and concerns and everything that she's landing in these phone calls. There was a resident who had PL&PD insurance, had an accident. It was a Prius, so it has a battery. The insurance company, because they didn't have full coverage, wouldn't take the car. So they basically disassembled the car to get rid of it, and then they have a battery. And then they we don't know what to do with the battery. Can you take it? And we're like, well, we don't usually take car batteries of that size. So Katie is going through all, the iterations of trying to track this down, contacts a Toyota dealership. They won't take it. She calls Toyota corporate. They go, talk to our dealership. And so you got this going on where at the end of the day, we did find a solution, but it wasn't not Toyota. So there's been a lot of conversation nationally about extended producer liability or responsibility. It doesn't get a lot of legs here in Michigan. It typically hasn't. But there are those challenging materials. It's not the water here. It's not even the mattress. It's these darn batteries that are really difficult to get rid of, or the messaging around how do you manage these materials that are causing fires in our facilities. We've got more work to do. The reality is that at a county level, we're spending the money to help residents properly dispose of these things. And we have Safe Chem programs located in 5 places throughout our county. It's open 6 days a week somewhere. We take electronics, we take the batteries, we take the chemicals, because we don't want it in the waste stream. We don't want it causing fires. We have propane tanks detonate at our waste energy facility. They detonate in the balers when it goes through scrap materials. So there's all those challenges and frustrations. On the daily, we're managing it well, but there is a true cost to the community and the county, because residents don't have a lot of options on where to go with that stuff.
Thank you. And then I don't want to steal your thunder, but I do want to recognize Kim, and is this it? This is the last meeting?
I just need to say, I did not put anyone up to this. We rode together, we're riding back together, and I don't want to have that conversation in the car, so.
Well, I'll take my minute here to say thank you so much for all of your service to the DPW and the county. Really, I had the pleasure of working across the hall from you, and any question I ever had, you were there to answer and problem solve. So thank you again for your
Next
contribution.
Friday. Yep, next Friday.
All right. Thank you. Any other commissioners' comments or questions? Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick comment, having this year been diving a little deeper, being on the Materials Management Planning Committee. One of the things that I've learned, which I think as part of that planning process may come back to all of us as something to lobby for, I guess, is part of the existence of this Materials Management Planning Committee, centers around state level definitions of recycling. And the definitions don't really align with what's like good policy in terms of diversion and just generally doing a better job of dealing with our trash. And I not to speak on behalf of the whole committee, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the things out of the planning process is to say, look, for example, Dar, correct me if I'm wrong, but like based on the definitions as they exist from the state, we could fire up 1,000 semi-trucks, truck a bunch of cardboard into Kent County, and drastically improve our metrics the way the state defines them. Now that'd be dumb, but and we wouldn't do that. But I think it's illustrative of the fact of we may need to do our best to convince the state to make the definitions less dumb, to really support good policy and good practices going forward. So just more to come on that, I'm sure.
I think my quick comment would be, if we'll be asking the Board of Public Works and Board of Commissioners if they'll be willing to support moving beyond the goals that the state has, because we're all but there, although there's some things we have to do. So I think that'll be our challenge, is trying to find that lane where everyone can agree.
All right, any other commissioners' comments or questions? I guess since I'm the chair, I'll end it with a couple things then. Katie was laughing at me when Commissioner Ponstein was asking about how you get into better recycling numbers. And of course, Dar, Steve, Chris, others here realize that getting to a single cart would be increase it by a big number. Obviously, then your recyclables aren't as good to sell. However, less trucks on the road, one truck on the road, not as hard on your roads. So, I mean, there's lots of reasons to look at some of that stuff. So we can, again, look at some of that stuff down the line. So, again, I know Katie was laughing at me when I kind of looked at her on that. I'd like to thank DPW Board and Board of Commissioners on that Waste Energy's additional 5 acres. I think it's a great piece of the puzzle over there at the Waste Energy facility. And you mentioned Village of Sparta. I believe Byron Township for the month of October, if you go to City Hall or Township Hall, you get a $35 voucher for the South Kent landfill. So again, just a reminder of that in Byron. And one other item, Dart, North Kent. I don't think we want to underestimate what the number of recyclables we've pulled out or diversion we've pulled out. Dart, real quick, that's exceeded expectations by what? I mean, you have to have an idea of what that exceeded expectations by.
I would say exponentially. I don't know how to put a number to it. When we put a counter down, because we're seeing all these residents, all these cars coming through to the recycling drop-off, and there's up to 1,200 non-paid, just recycling customers a day dropping off. And what's really encouraging, and it's the same with the recycling center, I'm pointing in the wrong direction, the Recycling Education Center, we're seeing a lot more commercial recycling where you have the company who's installing a hot water heater, they have the box, but they don't have an option. And so you're seeing HVAC and plumbers and other companies rolling up and making sure that they're putting that cardboard box in the right recycling. And then we doubled our recycling diversion rate. We tripled the size of our tipping floor with the new facility. We put a material handler in, and we went from, I think, roughly 1,500 tons to over 3,500 tons diverted, which is a significant number, but we have to do better. So North Kent, if that's a snapshot of what we can do even better at other facilities, but that's a great learning experience as to if you put in the right sized facilities, you make it available and make it as convenient as possible, people do use it.
Great, thank you, Dart, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next item on our agenda is the Animal Shelter Annual Report. Angela, been waiting so patiently. Welcome and thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So I have a little bit of history that I'm going to share, but for the sake of time, I'm going to kind of fly through these. These were in your packet, so hopefully you all got to take a peek at our pictures. We just celebrated our 85th anniversary celebration as a department last week, which was a lot of fun. We also named our new mascot. He is now Bark Kent. So we involved the community on that, which was a lot of fun, just a way for them to be involved. These are some photos of the original shelter way back in the 40s when we kind of first became that county department. And we like to look back and see how animal welfare and how we care for animals and how they impact our lives has changed over the last several decades. And again, these are just, I'm going to fly through these really quick, but 1940 was officially the year that we took over operations from the city of Grand Rapids and became a county department. We built our first building in the 50s, about a decade later, on the Fuller campus, near where we call home now. And then were transitioned under the health department for many years, and a couple of years ago became our own standalone department and separated fully from the health department. And we currently call our 23,000 square foot shelter home. And that was part of our restructuring that we did in 2022. That was a good overhaul for the department, and it really allowed us to kind of flourish as our own department and kind of forge our own path towards how we wanted to interact and support our community and their pets. Part of that also included a strategic planning session with Jenny and some administrative staff working towards creating our own mission and vision for the Kent County Animal Shelter. And one of our mottos is saving lives, connecting families, serving community, and that kind of embodies what we do. A lot of people think animal shelter, they think just a warehouse of animals, but the reality is that there are so many more amazing programs that we do to help offer support for the people in our community, to help keep them together with their pets. We did some strategic planning, and we ended up coming up to some really nice strategic goals. Enhancing community service to enhance and increase support services that keep families and their pets together while reducing intake to the animal shelter. Our goal is to reduce intake to the animal shelter and keep those family units together. Part of that is also increasing the percentage of lost and stray pets that are reunited with their families. We have some really cool technology that we've picked up over the last couple of years to try to increase the percentage of reunification with people who've lost their pets, those being our 24-hour microchip scanners. We now have 2 of those in the county. We were the second community in the United States to have those. We built those from scratch with the help of our amazing facilities maintenance team. They kind of scrounged together some items and tried to figure out what we could build to meet our needs to house this 24-hour microchip scanner. And now we have one located at the Kent County Animal Shelter. We also have one on the side of the North County Community Campus in Cedar Springs. And those are 24-hour access. So if anybody is missing their pet, they can just rock up, scan the pet that they've found, and they can help connect those people through the microchip company. And it's free, 24-hour. One of our other strategic goals is to promote public education and awareness about animal welfare care and our support services. Education really is key, and I have the wonderful opportunity every year to speak with civic groups, schools, education centers to really share our mission and our goals and how the community can be more involved in the work we do at the Kent County Animal Shelter. And finally, providing the highest quality of care to the shelter pets by following the 5 domains model of care. And that means that we look at our animal care holistically in the form of nutrition, mental wellness, exercise, all the different things that we take into consideration when we're providing the best quality of care to the animals that temporarily call us home. We have come leaps and bounds in the last several years with our life-saving and a lot of our programs. The adoption rate has increased for both cats and dogs significantly since 2009. I think part of that is awareness. Part of that is really changing how we process our adoptions. We follow the Humane Society of the United States Adoptions Welcome model. So when somebody has made the choice that they want to add a furry family member, we want to do everything in our power to make sure that we can make that connection for them. Everybody deserves to have a pet. How can we ensure that when they get it, they're getting it from the Kent County Animal Shelter, and it's spayed and neutered, it's vaccinated, it's microchipped, and it's off to a good start. This is just a snapshot of our 2024 year in review, and it is just some of the cool things that we do publicly and internally. We have an amazing veterinary team at the Kent County Animal Shelter who performed over 2,000 surgeries last year in our vet suite. Along with that is 2,100 rabies vaccines being administered and thousands of doses in flea and tick preventative, which all equal to healthier pets and a healthier community. Part of the enrichment for our dogs to make sure that they have quality of life in our care is sleepovers and field trips. That's a really great program. We have amazing community members who come out and support us with that program. They take the dogs out to lunch, they take them over to their house for the weekend, and it provides them a really good opportunity to decompress from what is a very stressful shelter stay. We do not euthanize animals at the Kent County Animal Shelter for length of stay or lack of space. That is our commitment. So because of that, we have to get really creative on how we maintain that quality of life if we have an animal that's staying with us for an extended period of time. And that's where those volunteers and fosters really shine for us. And we took over 7,000 volunteer hours last year. We have an amazing committed volunteer force. One of the other programs that we offer for the community is a low-cost euthanasia service for pet owners. So euthanasia is expensive if you have to do it through a regular vet, and if you have an animal and you're on hard times and you need to say that goodbye, we are really honored to be able to offer that service to the community. Last year, there was 120 canines and 81 felines whose families chose KCS to say their final goodbyes, and it's an honor for our staff to do that for them. Thank you. And also processing almost 2,000 adoptions is really also a big win for us. Not only is it just the staff time, but the conversations that we have, but all those animals that are going back in the community again are spayed and neutered, up to date on their vaccines, and they're microchipped. Part of our support services is to keep families together, includes behavior support. We have a behavior specialist on staff, so if you have a pet that you're struggling with to keep in your home for a behavior reason, we can kind of walk you through that and try to provide a resource so you don't have to give your pet up to the shelter. We also offer information about temporary housing during times of crisis or transition. We also distribute food. So one of our goals was to have a 90% chance for somebody to walk in and have food when they need it for their pet, so they don't have to surrender it to us. And so far, 90% of people that come in looking for a meal for their pet are able to get that from us. And because of all these things, our intake is decreasing, so we are starting to see the impact of some of our programs. And nationally, that's also the trend. So by following best practices, we're also starting to see those those decreases, nationally. And here we have a picture of our microchip scanning station. This is the one at the North County campus. It helps reunite families weekly. We get scans on that weekly. We have the opportunity to pull data off that and learn about its usage, and it's been very successful. Part of the technology that we use to reunite families with their pets is also our smart QR code dog licenses. So a couple years ago, we switched over from an old aluminum tag to a QR smart license. So people who purchase their dog licenses have the choice to activate the QR portion of their tag. It's not required. If they want their privacy, they can certainly keep it. But if they choose to, it's free. They can activate that QR code. So if you find a stray dog at 10 o'clock at night and its license is activated, you can scan that, see what information the dog owner wants you to see, and help reunite that pet. So it doesn't have to be picked up animal control or end up coming to the shelter. One of the best parts of my job is promoting our public education and awareness. So we have really picked up doing more shelter tours and really working towards being a transparent, open organization. When I was younger, the animal shelter in any county, really where I grew up, was kind of a sad, kind of had this, sadness about it. But what we are really working for is really inviting the public in, showing them our spaces, showing them our programs, and really getting them excited to support their local animal shelter. And we do countless tours every year. We do a lot of education sessions in schools, and it's really just a good way to get out into the community and share the amazing work that we're doing. We provide those 5 domains of care for our animals while they're in the shelter. And this chart on the bottom left is really, I think, one of the most amazing things. We have increased our surgeries per year from 800 to over 2,300 surgeries. And those are spay-neuter surgeries, leg amputations, mass removals. So animals prior, if they came in with something like that, may not have had a good outcome, but because we have such an amazing veterinary staff and veterinarian at the Kent County Animal Shelter, we now have the opportunity to do all of these extra surgeries and increase our life saving even more. And it takes a village. So part of our work is really connecting with the organizations within our community and building those partnerships. And from an animal shelter perspective, they look very different all the way across the board. So we have partnerships with the Girl Scouts who come in and do their silver awards and their projects with us. We have partnerships with our transfer partners throughout the state who we send animals to when we're in need. We work with Beer City Dog Biscuits. They do fundraisers for us, and in turn, we help promote all of the amazing work they do as a nonprofit. One of our fun partnerships is the Griffins and the Rise. We partner with them throughout the year for different events. And then, of course, our social media, or our regular news media, Wood TV, Fox 17, we have great partnerships with them. We're on Wood TV every Friday for our pet segment. They've offered that up to us. We've been doing that now for almost 5 years. So it really takes a collaborative effort to pull off everything that we need to do and make sure that we are providing the best service to our community and to the animals that will temporarily call us home. Some of the challenges that we face are, we are seeing length of stay increases, so the pets are staying with us longer. And that is simply because the more we can provide those resources to keep those pets in their homes, we're less likely to see them. But if we see those animals that have really major behavioral needs or medical needs, those are the animals that are more likely going to start ending up in our shelter because we can't divert those. There's not resources available. And those animals tend to have a longer length of stay. They're a little bit more of a challenge to adopt or to rehome. So our average length of stay actually increased from 11 days to 15 and a half this year, or last year, which ultimately reduces the available space that we have for a new intake. So we're working towards shortening that length of stay yet again. There is a lack of pet-inclusive housing in Kent County. So we hear a lot of people coming to us who are facing housing crisis, and it's, not only is it expensive and challenging right now if you're trying to rent, but if you have a pet or pets, there's usually an increased fee, there's usually more restrictions, and it is more difficult to find housing if you have pets. Oftentimes, we struggle with just community awareness of the shelter. People will come in and reclaim their pets a week or 2 weeks after we've had them, and we always ask, why did it take you so long to come to us? And the average answer really is that they didn't know we were here. We weren't aware that this was a place my pet could end up. So we've really been working towards increasing our community awareness through social media, print materials, getting grant funding around to increase our marketing, just so people have a better awareness of the shelter and the services. And then ultimately rethinking how we measure success. So 90% or higher has been the live release rate goal to consider a shelter successful. But unfortunately, because we're doing such great work in keeping pets and families together, that challenging population of animals that are entering our care is going to be harder to place. So our live release rate, if we do everything properly, it will reduce slightly. But we're really looking at different ways to track our success, whether it's providing food resources, referencing people to other county departments, like Kent County Community Action. Oftentimes, if somebody comes to us and they are struggling to buy food for their pet, or they're considering giving their pet to us because they can't afford veterinary care, there are probably other things in their life that they are sacrificing. And we are working towards asking the second question of, if you are struggling to provide food for your pet, how else can we, as a county, help you? Can we refer you to KCCA for heat assistance? Anything like that? Can we refer you to 211 to hook you up with a human service that can help stabilize? Because what we found is, if we can stabilize the humans in the household, we're less likely to have to provide service to their animals, which is good for everybody. And those are the solutions that I went through. Going really fast. So where are we headed? We're going to continue to foster and grow our community partnerships to further increase our impact. We're going to create new ways to serve the people of Kent County while focusing on accessibility. One of the big things that we just picked up recently is interpretation services. We've been struggling with that for a couple of years. Thank you to administration for sending out the information about the resources for interpretation services. We use those regularly. It's been a really great help for people that need to communicate with us. We're also going to continue to follow national animal welfare best practices to be a model shelter and build trust and transparency in our community. And ensuring no one faces challenges alone, we want to make sure that people and pets come out on the good side together as a unit, because everybody deserves to have their companions. Thank you. That was really fast, but I really enjoy questions, so thank you.
Angela, thank you so much. Commissioners, Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Burrow. Just a few questions, not too long. Thank you for your work to try to maintain the no-kill shelter. I know not every animal cannot be saved. The dog I own is a rescue from Nashville, Tennessee, was flagged for not adoptable, and it was a breed-specific organization that rescued the dog. Do you have relationships with breed-specific rescues in our community where people will find a way to get that dog out?
We do. So there's Third Coast Lab Rescue, there's Great Lakes Mastiff Rescue, there's a lot of real breed-specific rescues. And oftentimes, we will reach out to them if we find ourselves in a situation where we have a canine that maybe is just not fitting in well at the shelter, or it's very stressful for them, or if they have a long-term medical need that perhaps will be best served in a more relaxed, calm environment. We definitely reach out. We have a lot of breed-specific rescues that we partner with.
And then we had our recycling guru just before you. So I'll go to the other thing, recycling dog poop. And I live in a city that has trails, and it's amazing, just even with Granville's efforts to put free waste bags along all the trails. it's still amazing how many stuff are around. Most trails follow the watershed. I know you have a lot of education programs. How does that fit in? What is the best way? Is it just throw it in with your trash that DAR doesn't want, or?
We probably know
So
a
it's
lot
just
about
an
where they
open,
left.
just an open question.
So we are very environmentally conscious when it comes to that. So when you walk around the Fuller campus at the Kent County Animal Shelter, you will not find dog waste unless it's from the neighbors. They're very good too, though. But we do have waste stations throughout. And part of, not only is it for the environment, but it's also for disease prevention in other dogs. So like dog parks, walking trails, we really work towards educating the community that it's important that you pick up your dog waste. Not only is it a health for the environment, it's health for other animals and for people. There's a lot of zoonotic diseases and parasites that people can get from dog waste. So we don't have waste stations that we put throughout the community, but there are several around our campus. And when we do our community education sessions, we do talk about disease prevention in pets.
And then the final one, just quickly, I was at a conference once where they were talking about domestic abuse partners, or spouses, I guess. And it really struck me that a lot of times when the female is being abused physically and mentally and everything, the number one reason why she wouldn't press charges or come in was there was a pet in the house that they feared losing. Now, I know in the city of St. Louis, they've come up with housing that has dog kennels and cat kennels, attached. Being kind of partners now with law enforcement, what is our process in a domestic case? You don't even have to ask the question. It should be obvious that there's a dog or a cat living in the house. What involvement, if any, do you have as an animal shelter, and where is the sheriff's department when they come on a situation like that?
That's a great question. So there is a lot of instances where people will stay with their abusers, or they will not leave an abuse situation specifically because they worry about the outcome and the wellness of their pet. And people will forego services and move out because they're worried that they'll leave their pet behind. We worked with the Human Animal Support Services last year, which is a national organization, and we did a Human Commonalities project where we actually met with different organizations in the community that are human service organizations, like the Red Cross, Mel Trotter, and we actually had a conversation about how do we help create spaces for people and their pets. So not just domestic violence situations, but on people that are unhoused, things like that, and being able to allow them to bring their pets in, or setting up a way that the shelter can help facilitate some sort of animal care so people aren't foregoing those essential human services. As far as the sheriff's department goes, I'm not sure. I see Michelle's back there. I am not sure what their process is for that. We do have people that will reach out to us and say, I'm in a situation, I don't want to leave my pet, I need some help. And there are different resources within the community. The Humane Society of West Michigan has a 30-day emergency boarding program. We don't have one of those in the moment because we just don't have the physical space for that. Our path forward with that would probably look like a foster-based type of situation, where if somebody needed to leave their home or their residence, they would be able to put their pet into temporary foster with a foster family, and we would just have those on deck and ready to go when that situation happened. That is still very much in the works, but I would assume that the sheriff's department probably has some sort of conversation about that, but I can't speak for them, but I know that statistically, there's a lot of people that will forego those services simply because they don't want to leave their pet behind. They're worried about it. And how can we work towards providing some sort of service for that, I think, is where we're headed. Mm-hmm.
I think the sheriff's department, Sheriff, you've been involved now, is it, I'm testing my memory, a couple, 2 or 3 years now?
Welcome.
Yeah, probably 3 or 4 years
Okay.
actually now. So, and it's going quite well with animal control being under the sheriff's office, and the coordination has been wonderful. And just to really specifically answer your question, there are a whole lot of options that get explored when we are dealing with a situation where there's an unstable environment. Often the night of, there's generally an arrest involved, so the abuser that's identified is taken out of the home, and then that person's left with a number of resources to reach out to the next day. We do have a victim advocate program now. They will reach out, and part of their troubleshooting, fact-finding about the family situation is to help deal with meeting them up with the human services that might also have some pet services. But most people find that the emergency shelters in our area do not house pets. So we'll work with them to help find a family to foster, maybe a family member that would foster a pet, but there are some limited resources. So that long-term goal of getting more of those solidified. The other time we often have this problem is when there's some kind of emergency in our community, where we're asking people to leave their homes or, you know, take shelter for a warming center in the event that there's an extended power outage. People will not leave their pets. So it's something we still have to work through.
And if I remember, one of the many reasons why this, the sheriff's department got involved was that in many cases, animal abuse would be directly related to the domestic abuse that Commissioner Ponstein made a comment on. So I'm assuming we've had some success at helping individuals out.
I think that is probably the hallmark of why it is working so well under the sheriff's office, because there are some criminal offenses that, you know, all animal calls are not the same. Some of them are very regulatory, that, you know, there might be some reminders or some tips for safety or things like that that can be dispensed. Some just physically getting a dog in custody and match them up with an owner. Some are very serious cases that include abuse, that is felony and above. And those criminal investigations are key, because if it's not managed well, we don't get the criminal prosecution effectively, and then the person's not held responsible. So that is some of the stuff that's worked well. Some of those cases are also in cases where there's abuse in the family in general. So that's definitely an issue we found.
And Commissioner Ponstein, the one thing with dog waste, you will get a call from your trash hauler if you put it in the yard waste container over the winter and there's water in it, just to let you know.
That's very specific, Commissioner
I did
Darrell.
receive that phone call several years ago. All right, Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Angela, great to see you. Thanks for being here. As a family with 2 cats from the animal shelter from years ago, I really appreciate all the work you do. I first want to make a plea to both Chair Burrell and Chair Green in the back that we do a commissioner night out at the animal shelter. I think that would be a fantastic use of our space and time, and would love to be there. My question for you is, you know, I'm really impressed by the volunteer base that you have, right? Over 90 volunteers, the partnerships that you have. Where are the gaps? Where are the spaces that you're looking to fill? Right, I mean, you talked about how almost all of the time, if a family comes in and they need pet food, right, they have that access. Is there a gap there? Are there gaps in the volunteer base for what the needs are of the animals, right? Where are those spaces that we can look into?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things right now is when we look at our volunteer force is we have one individual who's full-time who manages the volunteer force that works in the shelter. So the volunteer orientation, the scheduling, the training, all of the managing while they're in the shelter physically helping us. And then the same individual is also responsible for all of our foster volunteers. So field trips, sleepovers, long-term fosters. So it really, I think, ideally, we could split that into 2. We would have one individual who works on our internal volunteer force, and then one individual whose focus is just fostering. Fostering is great. It saves lives. It does have some pitfalls. So people walk into the animal shelter and they want to meet the pet and they want to take it home. So if we have a lot of animals in foster, then you have to pick a day to come back off work. The foster has to be available and off work, and there's a scheduling component. So the length of stay for our foster animals is much longer. They don't get adopted as quick. And the other component to that is our fosters are amazing, but they need a lot of support. So if you have a foster in your house over the weekend and you take it out for a walk and it gets into a fight with another dog, our foster coordinator at that point is going to receive a phone call. How do I manage this? What do I do? And we give them a lot of really good support documents, and we go through some training with them before we send them out into a home. But there's always those situations where our fosters just need that, the reassurance. They need some of that information. So it really is a 365-day-a-year job. And for the one first person to do both of those, it's very overwhelming. So our leadership team each kind of takes pieces of that off his plate, so it's a little more manageable.
The other question I had is, I'm always interested in where technology is making entries into spaces. I don't suspect I would advocate for something like an automatic dog walker to exist in those spaces. I think that's something that would be better done by humans. But curious, so what's the technology that you're seeing that's assisting the work that you're doing, right? Whether it's AI or just general automation or things like that.
So we've been using a lot of different programs to help streamline things and reduce the workload on staff. One of the items that we're looking at is it's a company called Vida, and it's actually a 24-hour calling system that we can connect our fosters with. So if they have an emergency in the middle of the night, they can get some guidance as to if they need to go to the emergency hospital or if it's something that can wait until our vet comes in shelter the next morning. We're also utilizing those microchip scanners. That's really been an amazing piece of technology. I have received calls from all across the country, probably from 35 to 40 different organizations who've said, I saw the press release, how do we build our own microchip scanning station? This is brilliant. And I have a platform of information that I just ship out to them now because I've had so many requests. And we were really proud of that. We won the National Association of Counties Achievement Award earlier this year for our microchip scanning stations. So there's a lot of good opportunities to factor in technology to animal care, and we are really trying to check all those boxes.
Commissioner Faber.
To quote LL Cool J, don't call it a comeback. This transformation turnaround is unbelievable. I remember a few years ago, the shelter was getting dragged pretty hard, and it's really astounding to see the culture and just everything you've done to kind of bring it forward. And I think it's a real testament to when you focus on culture and you focus on the goals that you're trying to achieve. And I think it's something that a lot of departments could learn from if they're struggling with some of these things. So really kudos to you and your team. Two questions, or one, we're putting in our first dog park in a Kent County park, Wabasis. There's also city dog parks. Wyoming has one. Grand Rapids has a couple. Do you have kind of site-specific marketing or anything that can go along with those dog parks? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, so I've had a couple conversations with Ben Swayze about dog parks, and really looking at like what is best practice for how they're organized, how they're set up, and looking at if we can factor in microchip scanners. I would love to have microchip scanning stations throughout the county, so they're accessible to everybody, and really trying to figure out if these are something we can build and put into our dog parks. And really, is there a way that we can, because we're the animal services in the county, can we be involved in that on other levels? And I think there's a lot of conversations that are going to be had moving forward with how that collaboration looks.
Great. And then is there a separate foundation or a group that partners alongside of you? Like, how do you accept donations as a county department? Is there a foundation, or do people just donate directly to you?
That's a great question. So people just donate directly to us. We take donation through our website. We take them through the mail. We take end-of-life giving and bequests. One of the largest donations that we received a couple years ago, it was able to allow us to install our 24,000 square foot dog park here at the shelter, and then also upgrade our x-ray machine. So we are really grateful for the supporters in our community and the donations that we receive. They just help us cover those extra expenses, or what is like our wish list, all the amazing things that we can accomplish outside of the regular operating budget.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Any other commissioners' questions? If not, Angela, I really appreciate you being here. I have 2 rescues in my house right now of my 3 animals. So again, it's a pleasure to see smiles on people's faces on the photos you've seen from the beginning of time. When you see folks at the animal shelter, they're smiling. And of course, the photos you see now, people are smiling with their animals. So again, appreciate all your work that you do. Obviously, we know that social media to find lost pets works from anywhere from the sheriff's department to us locally that lose our pets. So that's also a good resource to find your pet when it is lost. So again, really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
All right, there were no additional agenda items. Commissioner miscellaneous. Seeing none, meeting is adjourned.